we just put it's feel free to announce yourself here in the chat.
Is it live?
Maybe you have to be on something, maybe. I love the communication.
Go right through those gray doors. There's a water fountain there. If you have any trash left over, your box or anything, we have white Panera bags all around the corner of the room that you can just at your leisure get up and deposit it before we get started at 10 after 5. So thank you all for coming.
Thank you, Will.
Good afternoon. We are just about ready to get started, and we're going to start really exactly at 5:15 because that's when some of our over 30, really nearly 40 of our community partners are joining us remotely. And so that's when they're told to sign in and log on, so we want to give them a chance. But while we're doing that, I'm going to invite our staff up because we have a little exercise we're going to do, a little demo once that 5:15 mark hits. So if staff will start making their way on up here, we're going to participate in this little shindig here for the little thing. We'll do it right here. Okay. Right here.
Stand in the front.
Yeah. 3 minutes. Is the suspense killing you? Let's see. Let's do the wave, with your arms. So let's start the wave on this side. Okay, so here we go. Here's the wave. Here we go. Let's see if we can do it. You come back this way then. Start over here. Now we should probably do that for those joining remotely. You want to join it? Everybody stand up. All right. 1 minute. 1 minute.
Like Mission Impossible music. Like you sing.
And we'll have a moment of silence for the great Miss Franklin, who left this earth today. And so many of us enjoyed her music and her songs. So let's have a moment of silence for her family. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And now we are ready to start. Are you charged? Are you excited? Are you ready to go? Here we go. Let's go. So again, I want to welcome you, and I want to thank those who are joining us via the internet, and especially want to thank two of our colleagues who are not in this room right now because they're making this internet connection possible, and that is Mark Taylor and Jack Barron. We want to thank them for making that possible.
because if it were up to me, it would not happen at all. I'm so illiterate, it's unbelievable. And then we have a quick surprise for you. Some of you had a surprise when you came in. We had some random gifts, and literally we had one of our volunteers who volunteers with us today pulled numbers. So based on, I numbered you the order you told me you were RSVP, and we pulled those numbers, and so you got those gift cards, some of you. And then we have several biggies, and so I'm going to introduce Sarah Swearer, who's going to give these prizes away.
Hi everyone, my name is Sarah Swearer. I'm the Agency Relations Coordinator. You all probably recognize my name because I email you quite frequently, so it's nice to see your faces. So the first email, Freudian slip. So the first gift card is a $20 gift card to Deerbergs, and that, when we drew, it was going to Robert Hanner at Peace Pantry. And the second is a Shop and Save gift card for $20 to Lieutenant Stephen Rainier at Salvation Army. And the third is for a Schnucks gift card for $25, which goes to Amy Conaway, which I believe she's not here, but Daystar Community Program. Whoever is here representing you guys, congratulations. And the fourth and final one is actually a couple tickets to the Cards Pirates game on September 12th. And that one went to Al Winton of Helping Hands Blackjack.
So one last thank you before we get started is I just want to thank this fantastic staff here. I have never been so fortunate to work with so many that have just stepped up and said, how can I help? How can I help? How can I help? And as you can see, and then we have fantastic volunteers here who help set all this up. And so if you could join me in thanking them. And so now we have a fun little exercise that the staff is going to do, because I thought it'd be too hard to do with 206 people. So staff, if you'll make a circle. Pull it tight. Okay, so you may have seen this kind of exercise before. Keep it going, staff. It's okay to drop it. Tangle it.
No judgment here.
So you'll keep paying attention. All right. Hold on to your end and. It's all right, no, it's okay. It's probably my fault. There it goes. All right, Jenny. Oh, sorry. Go to Judy. Okay. Because we gotta get a crisscross this way. Okay. We actually practiced this. Aren't you impressed?
It's not very aerodynamic at this point.
It is not very aerodynamic. Rita, and one more. Oh, we have two more. All right. We may be out of. One more then. One more. I think one more will get it. Sorry, Sarah. Sorry to the people at home. So whoever. Oh, we may have enough. Okay. All right, Brianna. Oops. All right. So staff, kneel down. Middle staff sort of mid it, and upper staff stand up and hold it up high. So what do you notice. It's a big network, right? Okay, now I'm gonna tap Lucinda on the shoulder. And Lucinda's gonna drop hers. What happens to the network?
It's disconnected.
It interrupts all of the network. All of the network. Thank you, staff. So one of the reasons we really wanted to convene you all at once, all in one space, all at the same time, is to help you see you are this humongous, beautiful network. Beautiful network. But you're not the whole of the network. And so when any one part of the network doesn't work right, it affects all of us. And so with that, we'll be talking about that because we're really today is about setting the vision, strategic roadmap for the network to work most effectively and efficiently. And so it is my pleasure to introduce our executive director, Sonny Schaefer.
And I would just like to echo Jill's welcome to each and every one of you. It's really a pleasure to have you here this evening. And I was asked to talk a little bit about our mission and the organization. And as you know, the mission of Operation Food Search is to nourish and educate our neighbors in need to heal the hurt of hunger. And we couldn't do that in a vacuum. We couldn't do it without each and every one of you and the people on your team. So thank you very much for the great work that you do. While the metropolitan St. Louis area is often known as a great place to raise a family, that perception is hardly a reality for many children. In the city of St. Louis, 40% of the children live in poverty, and in many zip codes, it's much higher than that. In St. Louis County, 57,000 students qualify for free or reduced cost meals. And in Madison County, Illinois, 1 in 5 children live in poverty. Unfortunately, Missouri is in the top 20 of food insecurity. And I like to think of what Jeff Bridges said about the problem of hunger. And I quote, 35 million people in the US are hungry or don't know where their next meal is coming from. And 13 million of them are children. If another country was doing this to our children, we'd be at war. It's true, isn't it? So we all know that children who struggle with hunger are more likely to get sick more often and take longer to return to good health. They're more likely to be hospitalized. They're more likely to develop behavioral issues. And they're more likely to have lower grades in school. And you know where that leads, dropping out of school. And you know where that leads, no diploma, no job, and you know where that leads. None of us like to think of anybody going to bed hungry, but we're especially concerned about children because of the long-term adverse effects that hunger has on a child. Collectively, for all of us in the room, the work we do is vitally important. It improves the lives of many, and for many, it's life-saving. Working with you in this mutually beneficial partnership, we project to distribute $30 million worth of food this year to agency partners. And we have already distributed 1.3 million personal care items that the Girl Scouts collected in their April Showers personal care drive. This year at Operation Food Search, we will have 75,000 volunteers cross our threshold. And I know most of you in this room this evening are volunteers. So your compassion and your steadfast commitment to caring and sharing for others is commendable. Thank you very much. So we're very grateful to be meeting in this new building. Oops, sorry. In October, we will have been in here 2 years, and we were able to purchase and renovate this building in less than a year's time, and at the same time, conducted a $7 million capital campaign. And we were fortunate to sell our old building on Olive to Washington University, and we're able to use the funds generated from that sale as part of the capital campaign as well. When we started the campaign, we were incredibly fortunate. We had 2 donors who stepped forward with $1 million gifts, and many with 6- and 5-figure gifts. So we're extremely grateful to everyone who made this building possible, because it certainly is opening a lot of new opportunities for us. In addition to the bricks and mortar for the project, it also have $1.8 million in reserves for program expansion. And this will allow us to continue to expand our current programs and services and initiate new ones. So we have 3 main focus areas in Operation Food Search. The first is meet the immediate need, and that's what we're all involved in. And so that's part of the DNA of Operation Food Search. This includes food procurement and distribution in partnership with all of you this evening, and collecting $30 million worth of food annually, preventing it from going into the landfill, and with your assistance, getting it into the homes of hungry families. We are grateful to all of our food donors, as I know are you, especially Schnucks and Dierbergs, who for decades now have led the way in hunger relief in our community and really across the country. They were model programs for many grocery chains in other parts of the United States. And since our inception in 1981, collectively, Schnucks and Dierbergs have donated 203 million pounds of food. That's 800,000 grocery carts. That's enough grocery carts to go from St. Louis to Kansas City and back. And I know many of you have touched the food in many of those grocery carts, and sometimes it's quite heavy. This meeting the immediate need also includes our Operation Backpack program. We started that in 2008 with 1 school and 100 children. This academic year, we're looking to provide backpacks to 9,000 children in more than 50 school districts. And the 3rd program is when school is out, food is in, which includes our after school and summer meals program. The summer meals program just concluded. We were delighted to have served 90,000 meals, and for the coming academic year, we're looking to serve 75,000 meals. The second area of focus for Operation Food Search is to empower long-term skills. And we do this through our Cooking Matters program, our Cooking Matters at the Store, and food demonstrations. And what this means for you is that designated pantries will have an opportunity to have one of our registered dietitians come out and conduct nutrition education classes. And if you come for the distribution, once a week, one of our dietitians is serving a healthy item to enjoy, accompanied by recipes. And most of the time, those recipes include one of the items that we seem to have in abundance. So right now, as you know, it's corn. And so there's a lot of good recipes that are being shared. So we're happy to offer those services to you. And our 3rd area of focus is to champion change and to innovate and improve our response to the problem of hunger. And this also includes investments in policy, advocacy, and new programs that address the problem of hunger up front in prevention as opposed to addressing it at the other end. So we also, want to know where exactly to direct our resources, and we're employing a valuation component to our programs and services so we can best do that. So I've been the executive director of Operation Food Search for 22 years, and for almost every day of those 22 years, I've looked forward to coming to work. And what a blessing it is to be able to say that. At the end of this year, however, I will be retiring and joining my family in Arizona. So I will be cheerleading you through the dust storms and the monsoons, but my heart will always be here with you at Operation Food Search. So started with that quote from Jeff Bridges, and I'd like to end with one as well, also from Jeff Bridges. One of the greatest feelings in the world is knowing that we as individuals can make a difference. Ending hunger in America is a goal that is literally within our grasp. Thanks. It's now my pleasure to introduce Lucinda Perry, Director of Strategic Initiatives, who will give you an idea of our strategic direction as we move forward.
Before we do that, however, I want to take a chance to honor Sunny and thank her. We have a little appreciation gift for you, Sunny. For 22 years, Sunny has led the charge against hunger in our region, and with a particular focus of helping our most vulnerable children. And this is the third building in which she has led the organization. When she started out at a small building, 5,000 square feet on Dealman, they were primarily having peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and some perishable items. And now we are producing and feeding 200,000 people every month thanks to your help. And so what a blessing Sunny has been. Her leadership has been absolutely incredible, and there is no one that has more passion for ending hunger than Sunny. So I hope that you'll enjoy and join me in giving her a really robust round of applause, and thanks.
I am very serious about getting through this whole thing without crying and making that hard. Thanks so much.
I wanted to add that one of Sunny's passions is eating chocolate. And so in addition to the flowers, there are 220 chocolates that represent each of our agencies. And they will be unique and sweet, just as you all are. So my name is Lucinda Perry. I am the Director of Strategic Initiatives, and I'm entering into my 5th year at Operation Food Search. And I have been asked to share with you what our strategic direction is. Sunny did a really great job of giving you sort of some broad brushstrokes around the direction that we're headed, but I am going to fill in a few of those gaps and answer any questions that you might have. And I wanted to share with you what led us to some of the decisions that we're making around our resources. So the one thing that I want to reiterate as I go through here, some of the concepts might be new to you, some of them might be old, but one thing that as I go through this, what I want to call out is that although we are adding components to our mission, we are not in any way detracting or waning from our roots as meeting the immediate need and getting food into the hands of people who need it the most. So as we go through, again, some of these concepts might be new of new programs, but they are really great additions and complements to what we have been doing for since our inception, since 1981. So again, this is the problem that we face. We are actually seeing a decrease in the number of kids that are food insecure in our bi-state region. Until last year, we had estimated that this number was around 173,000 kids. So we're making some progress, and so now is the time to continue to strengthen our safety net and make sure that the services that we are providing our children and families are the best that they can be. But as you can see, the need is still great. One of the things that we did during the capital campaign process was to talk to our stakeholders, our donors, our supporters around their thoughts of how do we attack the problem of hunger in our region. And what we've heard is that people want to see more of attention and being put onto the upstream. So I'm going to give you this example. We're a river city here in St. Louis, and so if we think of the way that we approach our work as being a river, with the upstream here at number 3. So just like any river, the Mississippi River starts in Minnesota, and anything that is put into that river in Minnesota finds its way down here to St. Louis. Anything that we put in the river in St. Louis finds its way down into New Orleans. So how does that analogy apply to the work that we're doing right now? How are some of the things that we're seeing in families that come to you? What are some of the problems that you hear that they're struggling with in their households when it comes to food insecurity? Finance, okay. Health, job security, utilities, okay. Education. And so all of those things intersect with food, right? Food is one of the basic needs that we all need. And when we look at these other issues and how they intersect with them, that's where we're starting to think about our work. So, as I said, we are continuing to meet the need and try to gather as many resources as we can to provide to you so that you can get them into the hands of families and children who need them. But we're also, going to look at what are some of the ways that we can prevent some of these problems from happening in the first place. So the question becomes, feeding the line or ending the line? And when we talk about that, now is the time when we need to strengthen our safety net, just as Jill was talking about, that we're all one system, that we can begin to find efficiencies and better allocation of resources when we all work together. So we're going to be looking at things of really working more deeply with our agencies to, again, collect data and make informed decisions about where the food is needed most. We're going to work with you more to identify the needs and the type of training that you need to do your job better and to serve families in a more robust way. And we're also going to give you more tools around communicating with each other, communicating with Operation Food Search, so that we can talk together about what are best practices, what are the things that are working in the community, what are the things that are not working in the community, what do we need to provide you to help you serve more people and do a better job at doing it. And when we look at those kinds of activities, what we're hoping that will happen is that we are going to have a real focus on increasing the nutrient-dense food that we give you, so that, again, when we look at the families that you serve that have obesity, chronic disease related to malnutrition, like diabetes or pre-diabetes, that we're providing food to the people that you serve that is helping them walk down a healthier path. Then we're also going to look at where are the gaps where food exists right now. And we're going to see how we can better meet the needs in the places that aren't being served. And lastly, we're going to see if we can decrease perishable waste. So the example that Sine gave of having our volunteers that come here be more attuned to taking perishable food and being able to have that go back into the community and to explain to the people that you're working with, maybe, guiding them around some healthy food decisions is going to be one of the tools that we're providing to you. And then this is just talking about our childhood nutrition programs. We are talking about scale. We know that these programs work. We've been doing them for quite a while. And so our emphasis now are just going to be, where are the children? How can we reach them better? How can you as agencies either be a host site or a communication partner, and making sure that the clients that come to you know that these programs exist? When we look at building nutrition IQ, we again have been doing these programs since the year 2000. We know they work, but we've primarily been doing them with individuals. And so we're starting to ask ourselves, what would it look like if not only the individuals, the kids, the teens, the parents that we're providing these cooking skills to, unilaterally, when we have donors that come through our building and we talk to our donors about the Cooking Matters programs, they often say, wow, I really need skills like that. I would love to learn how to choose healthier food affordably and making sure that it fits into a healthy lifestyle for me and my family. And so what would it look like if we not only provide individuals with these skills, but also provide staff with the skills? So for example, when we're working in a school district, if we make these classes available for teachers and for staff and for administrators so that they can help incorporate a healthy eating environment within their system. And so we're looking at how can we apply these skills and make them widely available so that they can incorporate them into their own way that they do business. That we can provide some assistance around what does it look like to create a healthy food environment. And then knowing that food insecurity often takes place in households where there are working parents and caretakers, that we are going to try to reach people through the workplace and taking the stigma and the shame away from food insecurity, and having some of these skills available at the workplace, just again, as a way that they do business. So that is the way that we are going to be building Nutrition IQ so that our entire region can benefit. And then lastly, talking about championing change. And often when people hear the word policy and advocacy, they automatically think about the legislative process. And yes, we will be educating and have been educating legislators about the choices or the decisions that they make around food policy, such as SNAP and WIC and other policies related to helping low-income families. However, we are also looking at institutional policy. And that means, again, what kinds of policies are in the workplace, in the school, in healthcare centers, in workplaces across our state and Illinois around what is helping individuals have access to healthy, affordable, nutritious food. And so we're also going to be looking at some programs that are research demonstration programs that are incorporating this idea of institutional policy and looking at the intersection of health and the role that food plays and how it ties to health outcomes and academic success. And lastly, the guiding principles of the strategic plan is really looking at some of these general concepts. Our geography. Right now we serve 15 counties in Missouri, 15 counties in Illinois. In Missouri, we're hoping that we can provide some of the policy guidance and some of the other technical assistance and capacity building to organizations across the state of Missouri. Again, hoping to impact the number of food insecure individuals in the state, which is about 14.2% right now. We're hoping to decrease that number. And so we're really looking at expansion plans throughout the state. We're also very interested in increasing our child nutrition programs in St. Charles County, Franklin County, and Lincoln County because they're still proximity to here, and we feel like that we have some ideas about how to get more food into those counties where we see that childhood hunger statistics are rising and rapidly rising. Data-informed decision-making is, again, that we're going to use the power of technology. Reports, which is why reports are sometimes painful to have to fill out every month, but they are really necessary because we really do look at them and they really do mean something when you all come together and we are able to look at these numbers. It really helps us make informed, intelligent decisions. And then we're also looking at integrated teams. At Operation Food Search, we used to work, very siloed into departments. We now, the nutrition education team knows what our child nutrition programs are doing, and we all come together to make these initiatives more robust and to infuse them with as much staff as is possible to make sure that we're getting the job done. And then lastly, thought leadership. We want to be leaders around helping other communities, other states think about the importance of ending childhood hunger and family food insecurity. And we have a absolute wonderful staff with credentials like registered dietitians and masters of public health and epidemiologists and a lot of people who are just really focused on addressing the problem and also helping our agency members address the problem as well. So we have a lot of expertise on staff, and we have a lot of experts right here in the room with us, with you. Together, we are unstoppable. And then I'll end this with a quote from one of my, a person that I've always admired, Nelson Mandela. When we talk about systems work and we talk about really ending the problem, some people say that it can't be done and that there will always be hunger. Well, you know what? It always seems impossible until it's done. And if we work together, all of us in this room, we can make it happen. And so now it's my pleasure to introduce my colleague, Trina Reagan. And Trina is going to talk to you about the Emergency Food Distribution Network. Thank you so much for your attention.
Good evening, everyone. Oh, good. That means no one's fallen into a carb coma after dinner. As Lucinda said, my name is Trina Reagan. I joined Operation Food Search about 1.5 years ago now. I wear a couple of different hats here within the organization. I filled in for a brief while we were hiring Jill, so my apologies to any of you who had to stumble through those couple months with me. You're in very good hands with Jill now. I oversee all of our advocacy and government affairs work at the local, state, and national levels. I work with Jill on the emergency food system as well as our innovative projects. Tonight I want to talk to you a little bit about the state of the emergency food safety net here in the United States. So it's in your notes, but without cheating, does anyone just know off the top of their head when the first food bank opened in the United States? We have a winner, 1967. So we are 51 years in the business of food banks here in the United States. So when we think about food banking, when I joined Operation Food Search and I started, I love research, I love data, I started exploring what food banking means, innovations in food banking. What I found really surprised me, and that is food banking has remained relatively unchanged for the last 51 years. The way we operated food banks and food pantries in 1967 is very similar still to the way we operate them today. And that struck me. Can you name anything else that in 50 years of existence has changed very little in our society? What? Prices haven't changed? So that really struck me. I think we have a couple examples, but I hear laughter after those examples, so I don't know if they're actually saying them in jest. But it made me think of moving into this building, and we talk about, home telephone service is a very 20th century concept. When we built this, we didn't call the phone company, ask them to come put in traditional landlines for us. We needed DSL and high-speed internet, and we have phones that I can't figure out how to use. So nothing really stays stagnant in our culture. But food banking has, in some ways, stagnated, even though society has changed at a breakneck speed. So as an example, I told you I like data, so I really, when Jill asked me to speak to you, dug into the data to paint a picture for you. So 1967, this is what the United States looked like. We had just under 200 million people, 60 million households. The median household income was just over $7,000 in the US. If you add inflation to that, it looks about like $45,000 in today's market. We had 2.8 million SNAP recipients. The program was still in its infancy. And the average monthly benefit per household member was $6.63. So then we go to today. We have 326 million people now in the United States. We've doubled the number of households. The median household income is now $56,000 here in our country. The average household size has decreased. We now have 42 million SNAP recipients in our country, and the average benefit per person is $125. So a lot has changed in the last 50 years. So one thing has not changed in the last 50 years. So if you look at this graph, what you'll see is 3 bars. The lightest bar represents 1966, about the time that we started food banks here in the country. And as they get darker, they represent 1990 and 2014, so almost a 50-year span. So what the census does is they look at the household mean income for families in the US. And they looked at each of these increments. And they divide everyone into 20 percentiles. So the furthest will be on your right, with the tallest bars, represent the mean incomes of the 20% of highest earners here in our country. While on the opposite end, it represents the bottom 20%. So those are our lowest wage earners here in the country. So when you look at the progression over time, do you notice anything from our lowest earners versus our highest wage earners across that 50-year time period? Right. So wages among our lowest, our bottom 20%, have literally been stagnant for 50 years. While if you look at the wages for our top 20% of earners, it has more than doubled over the past 50 years. So what does that mean for the families that we are serving through all of your food pantries now? There's greater need, definitely. And so the question when we see this data here at Operation Food Search that we think about is, how do we serve need, which is increasing here in our country with the resources that we have? So this is the last slide of statistics I'll throw at you because I figured 3 was people, it was maybe the maximum I should hit people with tonight. So on the top, you'll see what food insecurity looks like today in the United States. 41 million people, 12.9% of our population is food insecure in the United States. When Feeding America annually calculates the food budget shortfall, we are at $21 billion. That is what families in the United States are short when it comes to putting food on the table. 53% of food insecure individuals are SNAP eligible. Only half of those who are food insecure are eligible for our country's largest food safety net program. That puts a lot of pressure on all of you, on us, and all of you in this room. If we look at Missouri, 900,000 people are food insecure. 1 in 7, we are actually higher than the national average. The annual food budget shortfall just here in Missouri is $430 million. Sunny mentioned in her comments that we hand out, through you, $30 million worth of donated and recovered food a year. That leaves another $400 million worth of food that is either coming from one of the 6 other food banks here in the state, or quite frankly, it just isn't there. So there's definitely a gap between what is available within our state and what is needed. A study just came out in January that families that rely on SNAP for the majority of their food dollars are short $47.50 per household member per month when it comes to groceries. So thinking of what you're able to do, are you able to send home with people approximately $200 worth of groceries every month? Because that is what families are short. So when I see all of this data, what it makes me think about is how can we best serve those who are in need here in the St. Louis region and in the state of Missouri and in the state of Illinois. Lucinda made a comment during her comments, and that was that we need to continue to strengthen the safety net, the food safety net. And the truth of it is, the food safety net, all of our safety net programs are under attack, not only at the national level, if any of you have been following the Farm Bill and the proposed $100 billion in cuts to SNAP benefits, but they're also under attack here in our state. We worked with the coalition this session, this spring, to oppose a bill that would have cut $100 million in SNAP benefits just to recipients here in the state of Missouri. So take the $429 million that we're short and add another $100 million on top of that when we look at cutting the safety net. We expect that bill to be back next year. So it's an ongoing attack on safety net programs, which makes what we do in partnership with you all the more important to our communities. So as we look at this, it's a fairly depressing picture, and I didn't mean to depress you all. But it's a very sobering picture when you look at the status of safety net programs here in our state and in our region. And so what I think about and what our team thinks about when we see this is how can we transform the food safety net in partnership with all of you in the community to best meet the needs of community members. As part of our strategic plan, which Lucinda rolled out to you, part of that is looking at how we can work upstream. We know the food safety net will never actually meet all of the needs. So how do we help to work with our partners in the community so that less people end up in the safety net? Is there a way for us to work with families, with children, to prevent them from ending up downstream where they need our safety net programs? Because really prevention is the key to all of this. So as we look at transforming the system, we are examining what we do, and we're asking you to start examining what you do. One of the things we know, food insecurity is highly tied to obesity. In many of the communities that you work in, it is a food desert, meaning there is not a grocery store within 2 miles of where residents are living. Often if they have access to food, it will be nutrient poor food that might be available at a corner store or a gas station. So we are looking to up our game. We know what is available in those communities, how do we look at what we're providing so that we help to provide more nutrient-dense foods? So focusing on those foods that help promote good health. I heard health as an issue that was someone yelled out here in the community or in this room, which is a community. So that's something we're looking at. Families have a lot on their plate. It can be difficult to get to the food pantry. I know many of you are volunteer driven. I know that your hours are based on volunteer availability, and in some cases, that availability may be limited. We know from talking to the families in the communities that sometimes they're working multiple jobs to try and meet their family's needs. We know that transportation is a barrier for families. So knowing all that we know about how families are struggling, how can we redesign what we're doing to better meet the people where they're at? Do we embed food pantries where they're already going during the day, where they're already receiving other services? That could be a federally qualified health center, a school. The possibilities are endless. Or the other option is, how can we embed more value-added wraparound services into what you're providing so that not only are they making a stop to a food pantry, but they're also receiving other help that they need. We're also very aware that food pantries come with stigma. We know that there are people who don't want to go to a food pantry because they're proud and they see that as a handout, and they see that as something that they don't necessarily, even though they need it, they don't want to take it. I hear there are others who need more than I do. And so we're looking at how we change perceptions of food pantries. It could be as simple as renaming it away from something like food pantry that has certain connotations that have developed in our society over the last 50 years. What does that look like? And we also have a our food pantry system is strongly faith-based at this point. And when we're out talking to families, not as many families rely on congregations as they used to in our country. And we hear from families that they aren't, if that is not in fact their orientation, that they aren't always comfortable accessing a food pantry that is within a faith-based organization. They worry that they're going to be proselytized to. They're not sure what it's going to look like because it's an unknown to them. And so if that is the only food pantry within their community, we hear that sometimes they're reticent to access that food pantry. So we've heard that in the community. So these are all issues that have bubbled to the surface as we've really examined the food pantry system here in the region over the last 18 months. We're continuing to examine it, and we want to work with you to examine it, of how we can shift and transform to meet needs in the most effective way for people today. So we're really excited about what that means. We're seeing these shifts in food banks and food pantries across the country, starting to have these conversations about how we meet the 21st century needs with a concept that is essentially still a 20th century concept. And so we're going to invite you along on that journey and invite you to share your ideas, your perceptions, and your thoughts with us as we try and figure out how we best meet the needs. So with that said, the person who is leading all of that transition here and transformation at Operation Food Search is Jill Thompson, who I know most of you have probably had the opportunity to speak with over the last 7 months that she's been here at our organization. So I'd like to, of course, thank you all for being here and invite Jill up to the podium.
Thank you. And thank you, Trina and Lucinda and Sunny for setting the stage. Because what today is about is setting a roadmap for change. Now, how many of you love change? I'm with you. It's not my favorite thing. But when we're tackling these huge issues, like ending childhood hunger. And when we've had, I think Trina laid it out so well, we have kind of an antiquated system, honestly. We're gonna have to change. And so I'm gonna invite you to try to stay open, because there's some things we're just gonna try. We're just gonna lay it out and say, let's try it, let's charge hard, let's go for it. And you may not like it, and you may find, oh, it doesn't work really well. But I want you to think of it in terms of not just your individual pantry. That's why we did this network exercise. My sense is early on with you is that you see yourself as an individual pantry. We at Operation Food Search have to see you as a network if we're going to meet these kind of dramatic challenges. You know, these are dramatic numbers. So we have to accelerate our work and accelerate change. And given the current state of our nation and our states, both Illinois and Missouri, we have to really look at changing how we do emergency food. And you're a vital part of that. And we hope that you'll begin to see yourself in every way as a part of a network. And that network is not just all of you in this room. That network also includes every individual Schnuck store, every individual Dierbergs, other food sources that bring food into our warehouse, other resources that you on your own have accessed and brought in. All of that's a part of our network. And so just like this string exercise, we have to keep everybody in the network happy. And that means sometimes we're going to ask you to do things that aren't comfortable and you may not like doing, but they keep parts of the network healthy so that we can keep you healthy. So I hope you'll understand that. And more when you think about Operation Food Search, you are thinking of this room and all those grocers. But that's not the end of the network we want to build. Because again, as my colleagues have laid out so well, we have to really start adding to our network jobs programs. We have to add financial resources. We have to add educational resources, any of the kind of resources, transportation resources. So some of the things we're going to be doing in the next couple of years is trying to access those kinds of resources with you. And one of the things that this brilliant team has thought about is we've even brought on several social workers who are starting to experiment with certain programs, and we hope over time we'll be experimenting on how we can help. If several of you pantries through the network are seeing the same families, is there a way we can connect them with a social worker that will connect them to other kinds of resources they need to be able to get out of poverty and get out of being food insecure? But that means you're going to have to operate a little differently. We're all going to have to communicate with each other a little differently. And so think of yourself as a huge and expanding network. And so today is about sharing those strategies and tactics to transform our current emergency network into the 21st century in light of all this. to heal that hurt of hunger and strengthen our future. So I am asking you to keep that, healing the hurt of hunger, in the forefront of your mind, even as we ask for these changes. And so we will have a manual for you today as you leave, and it's your new roadmap. It's new requirements. And we recognize that some of the changes that we are sharing with you are going to be really challenging for some of you. And let me tell you, this has been we've had hard discussions here about whether to go some of these directions or not. But when we see the data of how many people are in need and that growing need, our hunger hotline last year, if we compared 2016 to 2017, every single month, our number of calls to the hunger hotline had increased month per month for the whole year. We know we have to work differently. And so we know this is going to be really challenging, what we're asking you to do in the manual. And we are here to support you. And that's why I'm so pleased, and I'm going to ask her to stand up again. And I'm so thankful to our senior leadership because they have allowed me to hire a full-time person. And I'm your full-time person too, Sarah Swearer. And the two of us together, we want to be your support. Okay? And we're not the kind of people that are saying, here's the manual today, and if you can't do it in 2 weeks, you're done. No, we're really going to look at this as an 18-year thing. 18 months, sorry. Sorry. No. We want to accelerate change. I meant 18 months, Freudian slip. And so, we're going to need to be in a lot of conversations with a lot of you to help do some planning, to help give some thought to how we can help you achieve what's in the manual. Okay? So I want you to hear that. We're here to help you because we need to serve more people. We need to end hunger. We need to heal that hurt. Okay? And so some of the things we're shifting from, we want to increase the number of children and families with children served. So I'm only going to give you the big bullet points because there's a lot of density in this. You'll also find there's a whole nutrition section, which our wonderful nutrition staff up there, wave, stand up, really helped put this together and examine it. And hopefully we'll give you more guidance about, because again, when Trina said there's that gap of how much it really costs a family to feed their family, can we give more to the people? And so we're also working on the resourcing side. So the number of children, we really want to increase the number of children that we serve. And then we also want to increase the hours that you're open. And I know this one's going to be tough. I've worked in volunteer organizations all my career. But again, hunger doesn't stop. And we know that you're doing heroic work. We know you're doing heroic work. And this breaks my heart to say this to you all. I know you're doing heroic work, but being open one day a month doesn't end hunger. And so we have to look at each other and say, okay, how can we marry each other and serve more? And we have to look at our aging. That's one of my biggest worries. I also am a gray-haired person, but I'm looking at our aging population that are doing our pantries, and we've got to, in 10 years from now, where is this network going to be? So we've got to think differently about this, and we've got to start as a network working together, holding each other's hand. Sarah and I will be in the trenches with you to help you meet these. So those are some of the big things. And I've sort of mixed up my notes, so I have to look here, forgive me. So those are the two things. Okay, we got that. The other thing, and again, I know these are hard. We really want to put mechanisms in place for you all to give us feedback. Because again, we want to get better and stronger. And for us to support you, we need to hear from you. So we're going to invite you to sign up if you'd like to be on an advisory council. an agency advisory council. We probably won't be able to have everybody of you be on the advisory council, and we'll try to have a mix of rural, some medium size, some large, some urban cores, some suburban. So, we need to mix up the council. But if you're interested in participating in that, we have sign-up sheets, Sarah, right in the back? Excuse me. So as you leave, you can do that. We also recognize that, if we want to become more sensitive, and St. Louis as a region is trying to become trauma informed. And you may have heard that word thrown around. And essentially what it means is many people have experienced trauma in their life. And so when they show up at our pantry doors, they may not be the sweetest people. They may not be the easiest to serve. And it may be really difficult to serve them. And so we hope to become certified as trauma-informed trainers to be able to then offer all of you and some of your volunteers trauma-informed training so that we can be more sensitive to our clients and help them be more comfortable wherever we are located. And we also very much believe in the importance of you all networking. You have a lot of expertise in this room. You have tons of expertise. And so we're going to convene 2 networking meetings. Again, the main purpose is for you guys to talk to each other and learn from each other. And so we want to create a learning environment, a learning community among all of us. And then also trainings. And so we're going to require, please note the word, and I'm serious about it. I'm an old teacher, an old youth minister. We are going to require that you attend at least 1 networking a year and at least 1 training a year. Now we're going to experiment with how we do that. Some of those we will do more regionally, so you don't have to travel so far. Some of those we'll make available online like we are now to our folks. Again, shout out to those who are joining us remotely because I know that's no fun. And then here's a biggie. We want to increase partner agency compliance with regulations. I want to be sweet here. But if Sarah and I are going to expand our networks to include all those different realms of social services to support your families, she cannot be spending the amount of time she's spending chasing down your monthly reports and making sure they're accurate and making sure that you have sent your receipts in and you've even told us what agency you are. So in your packet, Sarah has graciously created how we need you to fill out the receipt form. Every sheet you have to write what pantry you are, what number your pantry is, and what store you went to. Folks, she is spending probably 50% of her time right now chasing down that data. And I'm sorry, we don't have time to tolerate that. If we're going to accelerate change and end hunger, we cannot spend our time doing that. We need to spend our time out with you, helping you meet these new regs to meet people, okay? So as of today, that part of the manual, I'm putting you on notice, okay? And one of the new things in the manual is we are adding a probation and we are adding involuntary termination. So it's a new day. If we really are serious about ending hunger, we got to get going. And again, why those reports are important, while they're crossing an I and dotting a T, why they're important is it's what Trina uses to go to a legislator to say, this is why we need SNAP. And if we don't have those reports right, we don't have them at all. If we have them late, we don't have the most up-to-date data. And we are going to require you to do ethnicity. That is a requirement. And if your agency has decided not to do that, we thank you for partnering with us. But ethnicity helps us plan, helps us adapt, helps us provide ethnically and racially appropriate resources and food. And we can't do that if we don't have the data. And I'm going to give you one analogy. One analogy is the medical profession. The medical profession for years felt they were treating all patients exactly the same. They felt that, oh, we're giving, and particularly if you look at heart disease, oh, we're treating all patients regardless of race or ethnicity exactly the same. But the medical community was not collecting that race and ethnicity data. And when they did start collecting the race and ethnicity data, oh my gosh, they found out, the medical professional has heart best practices, and people of color were not getting heart best practices. But we didn't know that as a nation until we collect ethnicity. So we can't do our job, we can't lead in ending hunger if you don't give us that information. We can't have our nutrition give ethnically appropriate kind of recipes if we don't have that information from you. So it is a requirement. And turn in your reports by the 10th. By the 10th. And the other thing is, to see all of you in this room, I can't tell you how many of you don't tell me what agency you're with you when you email me. I can't tell you how many people don't give me agency numbers. We spend so much of our time looking up who you are and who you're with. I really, probably 20% of my time is just doing that. Is that going to end hunger, folks? Okay, so please, when you contact us and leave us a message by phone, email, use your name, use your agency number, use your agency title. Okay? That will save us gobs of time so we can be in the field helping you make the new standards, okay? Sorry, I'll get off my soapbox. And as Trina said, we are working really hard to do nutrient-dense foods. We are partnering with several organizations in the region and exploring some new opportunities. And so in your packet, there's a flyer about a conference that's coming up where we're partnering with the gardening folks in the region and trying to see how we can match pantries and gardens so that you can get more direct produce. So one of the things I'm going to ask you to do is, if any of you have ideas about what it would, so let me say it this way. I'm a gardener, I'm coming to your pantry, and if I give you stuff, how do you need to get it? Is there a particular way you as pantries need to have that given to you? So if some of you have ideas about that, please come. I'm seeing a head nod. So I want you to come talk to me after this, okay? Because we want to give the gardeners that kind of feedback. That, hey, if it comes in and it's all got a lot of dirt, we're a volunteer run. We don't have time to clean it. I need to know those kinds of things from you. And if you don't want to come talk to me, you can shoot me an email, but it needs to happen between now and the next 2 weeks, okay? So if you have ideas about, if you were paired with a garden, what would you need that garden to do for you to be able to receive that? But it's just one example of how we're trying to up our ante to get more nutrient-dense food. And the other thing is, we're also going to implement, probably next month, a little different way of distributing out of the warehouse. Right now, no matter how many people you serve, you get the same amount. And that's not going to end hunger either. So we're going to start experimenting with you with trying to pull, and again, trying to be more over time. Now, this will probably take us a year or two, but we want to try to pull more of the nutrient-dense stuff and then let some of the more sugary options be more of an option. But we want to, yeah, so like I say, when we're talking about change, I mean, we're going to try to change ourselves, and you have to give us time too. So this is not only 18 months for you all, please give us a little bit of 18 months too. But so there'll be changes, but we want dialogue around the changes. We're going to try some stuff, pilot some stuff with you all. So please be be aware that that will be a change. We're also going to start having some volunteers, again, those wonderful, wonderful volunteers, come into the warehouse and sort through. I've heard from many of you when I've done site visits that some of the stuff is not fresh and you're having to spend a lot of time dumping it. So we're going to see if we can do more on this end to get it, go ahead and dump and compost. But the other thing I'd like to say to you all, and again, can we be honest here?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Sometimes we may have good stuff and your drivers won't take it. So what we're trying to do is, again, our wonderful nutrition team, and they started it this week, or no, this month, they started it this month, they're doing demos of some of that kind of stuff. And I need you to encourage your drivers, bring it back. And then if, again, you're finding you're having trouble pushing that stuff to your folks, call me and I will connect you with our nutrition team and Carmen's team, and they'll look up recipes that you can then make available. But we don't want to inundate you with recipes you don't want, because I also heard that from, oh, don't give us a stack of recipes, they just end up in our parking lot. So, but be in communication with us, encourage your drivers to take nutrient-dense foods. It may not be what they like to eat, but we're pushing nutrient-dense foods, so help us out in that way if you would, please. The other thing we're working on, again, with this trauma-informed care, racial equity, we're using data to help us understand the racial and ethnic makeup in our communities. We may find that, in the next 2 years, we have a sudden demographic shift. And again, we need to be responsive to that. So that's where that data is so critical. We also plan in the next couple of years to maybe provide you with some Operation Food Search signage that says you are officially approved partner of us to help you in marketing. You're following our regs. You are worthy of this designation. And with it, we hope to put a number where your clients can call us with praise for the great things you've done for them, or complaints, honestly. And we know that we will have to monitor the complaints because everybody knows complainers do it quickly and easily. So we'll take some of that with a grain of salt. But again, if we're hearing time and again from somebody about a pantry, then we're going to come talk to you and be honest. And then say, what can we do to help you? So we're here to help you. Help. We're here to help you. Okay? And again, we can't know if we've made success if we don't measure it. So again, we're going to do more and more data-based, data-driven decisions, as Lucinda said earlier. So even when it comes into how much you get from our warehouse, it's going to be based on the number of people you serve. We also want to be in conversation with you, though, if you're seeing a sudden influx, like someone's joining us remotely, and a pantry, and I mean, she's way up in Winfield, Missouri, high, and a pantry even further north of her is closed, and she's having a sudden influx. So we need to work with her. But again, we have to think of ourselves as a network. So some of you could have said, oh, I want that stuff. But we think of ourselves as a network and what's best for the whole network. Okay? And so again, this manual, oops, sorry, I'm behind. I get carried away, I get excited. So to achieve the mission, we really felt we needed to be clear about the direction. And so we've created that manual. And you'll notice the manual has a new name, Community Food Partner. Community Food Partner. We felt that we called you agency partners, but it had nothing about food in it. And so again, in trying to understand us as a network, we're sort of the distribution, and then you're the community part of the distribution. So we're going to keep that for a while and call you our community food distribution partners, our community food partners. And one of the things we're tossing out is potentially to call your site, the physical part, a nutrition center. Doesn't that sound good? A nutrition center, not just a pantry. You're a nutrition center. And that's where through our integration of programs, we hope to support you being in a nutrition center, providing recipes, signing up if you've got a group that wants to do the Cooking Matters. Or if you have some volunteers that would like to be trained. Isn't that right, Carmen? Carmen, I hope I'm not speaking amiss. Training, you'll train some people to do kind of Cooking Matters demos and things like that? Yeah. So that's, again, where we're integrating our work as well to help it benefit you all more. Okay, so we talked about that. Sorry. Okay, we really want you and expect, I want to be clear, we expect you will read the manual from cover to cover. And when you pick it up, as you go out, you only will get one per pantry, but probably by the end of next week, we will have it up on our website so that if Sarah's out on a site visit or I'm out on a site visit at the same time and you need information, you can go to our website. You'll be able to pull down the agency manual and hopefully everything you need to know is going to be there. We really try to be very thorough in thinking through everything we relate with you. If we miss something, let us know because we'll put it in the next iteration. And we expect, write this date down, by September 16th, you will have read it in total, you will have signed the little sheet that's inside it, and you will have either faxed it, scanned it, mailed it to us. Either Sarah or I, either one. Okay? And then we are going to offer over the next year trainings that relate to portions of this. And the other thing we hope to do with trainings is to connect you also with resources. For example, one of our early trainings, we're going to invite the St. Louis Community Credit Union to be at one of our trainings because they are doing some amazing, fabulous work about financial literacy. And we think helping you know about that can help you help end hunger. Okay? So again, we're going to take an 18-month journey to try to achieve this. And we're here to set out the deadlines, here to make clear where we're headed, and to lay things out. It's a roadmap to end the hurt of hunger and to strengthen our community. We know it will take time, but we want to accelerate change because too many people are hurting. So I have two more things, but I want you to note in your packet before I forget it, there is an evaluation of tonight. We've heard a little verbal feedback, but we want those who are not verbal to give us feedback as well. You can drop that off at the back table as you leave. It's your ticket out, okay? You don't get out unless we give you an evaluation. And again, one person from your agency pick up your manual. So 2 more things. If I can have your attention just one more time and then do the evaluation. I know I shouldn't have said that, but I was going to forget. I just have to say, I have not been to all of you yet. It is still my goal, even though it's August, to get to all of you by the end of this year. And that's 220 of you. But that's my goal. That's how committed I am to you and how committed Sarah is to you. How committed this agency is to you that they're letting me do that. Because it is time and money that they are affording me that opportunity and to learn from you and grow from you. But as I've done the site visits I've done today, I have just been amazed at the great creativity and sensitivity with which you have served your communities. The variety of styles you have used in providing emergency food service, the dedication, even sometimes at a cost to yourselves. You have gone above and beyond, and you are amazing people. But you're also amazing people serving amazing people who never want to darken your door. Isn't that right? They don't want to be there. So I want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. And so to wrap up, one last thing. I want to ask you a couple questions. You ready? Strapped in, ready to go? How many of you, if you had all the power in the world, would want to end cancer? I'm going to clap if you want to do that. You want to end cancer? How many of you, if you had all the power in the world, would want to end heart disease? How many of you in all the world would want to end diabetes? I want you to stand up if you had all the power in the world and you wanted to improve academic achievement. Stand up and give your kids applause. How many of you would want to improve academic achievement? How many of you would want to improve work productivity? Would you want to improve work productivity so people can make more money? How many of you, if you had all the power, could create a healthier community? How many of you would do that? All right. When you heal the hurt of hunger, you reduce cancer rates. Yes, you do. Give yourselves a hand. When you heal the hurt of hunger, you lower diabetes rates. When you heal the heart of hunger, you lower heart disease. When you and all of us work together to heal the hurt of hunger, we excel academic achievement. We elevate it. You don't sound too excited to me. Are you excited to do this for your community? Come on now. When you heal the hurt of hunger, you increase work productivity. And when you heal the hurt of hunger, you create a healthier community. So let's get busy. Let's get active. You guys go back to work. All of us are going to go back to work. We're going to heal the hurt of hunger. We're going to strengthen our future. Thank you for coming tonight. Good night.
I didn't see that to you. Oh, great. Thank you so much. Yeah. And I'm sorry about that. You know, you guys told me, and I wanted you to email me. Because all this many people, I can't do that. No problem. I'm glad we had enough. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You bet. Thanks so much.